Welcome to the old-fashioned three. They've been around basketball from the Big Dipper to the Greek Freak, from Russell Celtics to Curry's Warriors, from Peach Baskets to Paolo Banchero. Here are Whitey Gleason, Phantom, and Jerry Reynolds.
Yes, that was that cat, all right.
Jared, what the heck happened?
Wow,
was
look
that
at
Jim
this.
Peterson get beat on a
Jim
backdoor
Peter-
cut by AC Green?
Yeah, got cut on the, so I had to call time. I said, Jim, what's going on here?
Actually, that wasn't even a backdoor cut, was it? He just ran.
He just, I think Jim just said, I'll take a break here.
Yeah.
The thing I kind of remember about that game, and I looking at it, is like, the problem we had is they were a lot better than us.
Yeah, I thought that's why you called timeout to say, hey, those guys are really good out there.
No, I just thought, might as well call timeout, and since we got them, and
Yeah.
and act like we can do something about it.
Take a break.
It's like, Worthy and Magic and Kareem. And
Yeah.
it's a real issue there. That was
How'd you scheme those guys?
Well, they schemed us. That's what they
You
did.
see Kareem in that clip, and he's pointing to somebody like, hey, go to the basket.
Yeah,
AC
hey, they're not
Green.
going to guard us.
Run to the basket, and we will
Yeah.
pass you the ball.
They have no idea what we're doing out here.
Actually, the probably in reality, it's like what Jim did was actually give a scoring opportunity to a guy that you wanted to be open a lot.
Yeah.
On that team, because you're going to have to double about everybody else.
Yeah.
And him, you didn't.
Yeah.
But
So that was good coaching, in other words.
Well, I mean, the location
I
on the
wouldn't.
floor
I would
wasn't.
not go that far, but it wasn't. I mean, you're not. Come on. They're an all-time great.
There's
That's-
a reason that they are who they are.
Yeah,
yes.
that's why they didn't call it the Showtime Kings, did they?
No, they didn't. Well, I think you did once.
I
didn't
did
you?
once.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
once to my utter
Didn't really
regret, but I
stick.
did. It did not stick. No.
And we didn't have four first ballot Hall of Famers.
No.
No. Again, that's the failure of the front office.
I think so.
Don't you
yeah.
think so?
Yeah, I think
It's
so,
not your
yeah.
fault.
Not my fault.
You did what you could with what you had.
I would
Jerry
have.
with
I would have been a better coach with
Yeah.
Worthy
Jerry-
and Magic and Kareem and.
Going
Did you
the
think
old
that
20.
Did you think the 20 would be enough? You didn't want to go full. You figured 20 is enough. I can handle these
I thought
guys.
20 would be plenty for me to say what I needed to say.
Which is you have no chance.
Oh my God! Let's. What time's this game over?
That wasn't the 40-4 game, was it?
No,
Okay.
no. I was assistant then, so
Okay,
I can't.
that's right.
Yeah,
You
that
can't
was
blame
your
me.
fault.
That actually got me the head job. Is what that game did.
Because they fired the guy or he just walked off. I mean, after 40-4, I got to get out of here.
It was and that quarter was 40-4, and we made 4 free throws. Didn't make
Yeah.
a single field goal. I mean, it was amazing because, Eddie Johnson, a great shooter, I think, must
Loved
have had
Eddie
5 or
Johnson,
6
yeah.
just open looks and missed them all, and so you're down 36 first quarter.
Yeah,
but
that's,
I think we end up getting beat by 20 something.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, and they fired Phil Johnson, which Phil's a good coach, and
Maybe they should have fired Eddie.
well,
loved
actually,
Eddie,
he was
but-
gone about a year later,
Yeah,
so
I love that guy.
for no good reason
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
But that's I always remember with Eddie. I loved Eddie. I mean, he won all best Kings ever, and of course had a great career to prove it. But I remember, Joe Axelson, I would always focus on, well, Eddie can't guard anybody. He can't guard anybody. I said, well, he scores 20, and the guy he's guarding scores 16. So if everybody did that,
Yeah.
we'd be 82-0.
We'd be really, really, really good.
Yeah.
He was one of the first. Yeah, he was one of the first real 3-point shooters the Kings had. Huh?
Yeah, and he didn't shoot hardly any of them.
Yeah.
Nobody did that. But he was. He would have done it as he
Right.
did later in his career when he moved to Seattle and then later Phoenix, I think. But as it became more popular, but he had that easy stroke. Could get. But if you could get him open, he'd make shots. And with Eddie, he's one of those rare guys that he got better when it was clutch. He wanted to take that big shot. There'd be a lot of guys that take a lot of shots in the second, third quarter, but you get in a huddle and you can't find their eyes.
They're going. Or they're like.
But Eddie, I always remember Eddie. The key situation, he's looking right at you.
He knows to get his shots that way. Yeah.
I mean, I can say Eddie didn't make them all, but he never choked. I mean, he shot good balls.
Amazingly about the story you just told there, Jer, you pointed out Eddie would score 20, give up 16. I think you invented analytics. Didn't you
Yes,
invent at that
absolutely,
point
yeah.
basketball analytics?
Sometimes you can simplify it right there.
Yeah.
If you had carried
no.
that through, that's
Yeah,
what
I mean, really,
Reynolds Linux or whatever
Yes.
we call it.
Well, sometimes it really isn't that. I always say, that's kind of like the old theory of defense wins games. Well, it helps you win games, but the thing that hangs above the floor is a scoreboard.
Yeah.
And whoever has the
Yeah.
most scores
Yeah.
always wins.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the people with the ball are the ones who could score, so don't leave the people with the ball.
There you go.
Which is the
Yeah,
foundation of
yeah.
one of
That's
your best.
Jerry Lytics. That's
the
Jerry
foundation
Lytics.
Jerry
of one of your
Lytics,
things.
Yeah.
like I say, I mean, the team with the most points always wins. So now defense means you don't have to have as many points to win, but you still have to have the most,
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to have more than them.
more than them.
Yes.
Who is this phantom that it's kind of the old-fashioned four today? This is Coco,
That
right?
is Coco, who has adopted you, and
Yeah, well,
chasing balls around the floor, and then I think got tired, and now coming up and hanging with you. Yeah, to
Coco
listen
is
to the show.
Stone's dog,
Stone's
right?
dog,
Yeah, then
yes,
we're in the
yeah.
palatial.
We're in the
Stone's Palace,
Yeah.
I think.
Stone's
they call it.
Palace,
Yeah,
yeah.
Stone's
Yeah.
Palace. This is fantastic.
yeah, you know, how about this for a big time?
You got a
Jerry?
great.
I know.
And then
Feel-
what do we have behind you? That is just.
The
those are the cardboard Jerry's.
the cardboard Jerry, and the beautiful thing that those are young cardboard Jerry's,
But
You're
perplexed cardboard Jerry.
perplexed and
Yes.
frustrated young Jerry's,
Maybe a disgusted.
a little disgusted, yeah.
This Jerry over here is like, yeah, I got it going on.
Yeah, he
that
does,
Jerry's
yeah.
like, I don't know who were you probably upset with there. That one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, probably they were taking, like, say, the one that got it going on there was probably first quarter.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
early Jerry.
Early,
Yeah.
early in
Yeah.
the game, Jerry.
So we got first, second, and third.
Yeah,
End of game Jerry.
Like,
They're going.
oh crap, here they come.
And then the far one over there, to me, it looks, Jerry, like you're looking at the scoreboard there and you don't like what you see.
That I've looked at that a lot
Yeah.
and said, you know, I think they've decided to win this game.
So they have more points than you do, which
Yeah.
is not the way you wanted to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Not the way you taught Jerry Lytics.
Yeah.
No. Well, that's the thing too. I've always enjoyed, you know, I love the game, and so you see the good teams, you know, the Warriors of today and Celtics and all that, and it's no different than it was back in the '80s or '60s. That the best teams, that's like with the Kings, that you know they'll mess around, they'll let you play with them.
Isn't that funny how that happens? Yeah.
And then it's okay. Well, 8 minutes go. Let's go win this game. And
Yeah.
now, I mean, you know, the best teams shouldn't do that because occasionally they get caught by doing
Right.
that. But by the nature of the schedule, 82 games, they do that. I always remember,
Yeah.
you know, and quite honestly, I always thought the officials helped the best teams. I always thought the Kings, when they were really good, I always remember we had a game with Vancouver and we were screwing around with it, you know, and they were playing.
playing
I mean,
with
they
it,
were
yeah.
playing right along, and I said, man, this, you know, we're going to have to get it together, and sort of did, but the refs kind of helped us.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's like Vancouver ain't supposed to win
Yeah.
this game, and
We know they're supposed to win. Yeah.
yeah, they, you know, Webb and these guys going to get some calls because that they're the best players. Type
I
stuff.
got to ask you, and by the way, that team that we just saw there, that Laker team, that was the first team that I was aware of. Hey, they're doing that in the fourth quarter. That team was that great Laker
Yeah.
team would ratchet things up, especially at the defensive end. But I had a coach tell me once, and he was coaching the Sonics at the time, and he said, and this was after a game at Old Arco, and he was talking to some people, and he said, in the old days, he said, you know, the officials kind of evened this up. We were ahead, they evened it up. He said, in the old days, they would call it one way to tighten it up, and he said they used to give that back to you. And he said nowadays, and this was 10 years ago, whatever, he said they don't do that anymore. Is that just a coach who was a little upset with the way the game went, or is there any truth to that?
I think there's some truth to it. I mean, I think with the going to the three officials, and I think with a more scrutiny all the time, I think they do their best to try to call an equal game. More so, I think back when I came to the league, you know, the two officials, you had guys, you know, kind of be creative in there. You know,
There was some blind spots
you
involved.
know, Earl,
too.
well, Earl Strom and Jake O'Donnell and different guys. I
The
mean,
characters of the day. Yeah.
but I think they were very fair. I mean, they might hurt you here, but they'd say, okay, I missed that one, but I'll get them on
I'll
this
get
one.
you back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, players knew it, coaches knew it. It's just a little different, you know, a game within a game, so
Yeah.
to speak. And you know, and then of course as a coach, you knew that if you know, kind of pissed Joey Crawford off, that you
Don't do it.
probably
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't
Yeah,
do that. And he's easy, and it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Pretty
that was
easy.
all ingrained, like almost in the fabric of the game. You knew
Yeah.
this guy was going to treat you this way. It's like the umpire knowing his strike zone's a little different than the other guy. You knew these guys, and when they said in those days when they gave you the referees, you went, okay, now I know how this game was going to be
Yeah.
played and kind of how you needed to play it, right?
Yeah, and I think too, there's some of those guys, like I say, Earl Strom, Jake O'Donnell come to mind. There's others, but you knew if you're on the road, if you deserved to win, you'd have a chance to win. I mean, if you deserved it. Now, if you didn't, you wouldn't, and that's the way it ought to be, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, but occasionally, I like I say, I mean, they weren't afraid to make calls against the home team that was the better team.
Wow.
You know, I mean, they would, you know, and I can't say that about all of them.
If you were coaching a game today, you had one of your, I don't know, all-time Kings All-Star. Anyway, you're coaching a huge game. You get to pick the officials that are officiating today. Who would you want? Who are some guys you know? I want that guy on the floor. Anybody?
Well, Zach Zarba,
Yeah.
for sure. I think he'd be, you know, right at the top, if not the top. I'm trying to think of some other guys.
Yeah. Nothing against anybody, but that Zach Zarba is definitely
Zach would be the top guy.
just in terms of you getting a fair shake with him.
Oh yeah, he's a pro's pro kind of thing. And it's I think most of the the officials are younger now, and they're, like I say, the training is different. They bring them up through the G League and that sort of thing, and so no, it's I think the league is trying to have an equal game called. I don't think it's possible, because I think the game itself is impossible to call. And then we've already said how many. The interrupted dribble isn't called, this isn't called, that ain't called. But it's still it's the same for everybody.
Yeah. You fan of the 2-minute report?
No, not really, because I don't see the point, really. I mean, it just gets the mad people matter by telling them you were right to be mad in the first place. And so if you want to have a chip on your shoulder, it's going to grow even more when they tell you, that play, that dribble, we should have called that.
You're right.
Again, well, what does that do for me? It doesn't.
You thought you got screwed, and you did.
Guess what? We made a mistake. It doesn't bother us. That's the other thing. What's the accountability as far as, there's 3 blown calls in the last 2-minute report. What happens to the people who made the blown calls? I mean, in your case, you're coaching that team. That may cost you your job, right?
Yeah.
But what happens to the referees? Is there accountability in that?
Well, I think there is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, nobody does it. It's a secret.
I always remember losing a game to Denver. Pat Lever hit a 3-pointer that basically beat
Mr.
us.
Triple-double, right?
Yeah, great play, good guy. Worked for us for a while. Anyway, he was well above past the 3-point line. Well, they came back and said, well, we missed that. Well, I said, you're damn right you did.
And you probably told them at the time.
And that resulted in an L as opposed to a W.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then they didn't have the 2 minute. But I'm with you, Phantom. I don't like the 2 minute. What good does it do? And it's like, well, what about it? Maybe the worst call of the night may have been at the 2:05 mark.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and it changed the whole game.
Yeah. So why do that?
Nobody likes it. I think the only reason they have it is because of all the fallout from all the game. A lot of people think that there's some funny business going on. They're trying to show transparency. It doesn't work, but I think that's why they do it. That's the only reason I can think of to do it, is to be able to say, yes, we did miss that call. We do miss calls, but I don't know that there's really any benefit.
I don't either. No, and I think all it does is, the old home team, their fans. Well, that proves you're screwing us.
Yeah,
well, the game down the road, their home fans are road. Yep. Yeah, you screwed us.
We're proving it's not fixed by showing how bad we are.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
We're just incompetent.
I don't know.
See, that's what I always thought back in the day. I always thought there's no fix in. It's just these guys aren't as good as we think they are at doing what they're doing. And I know it's the most difficult game to call and everything. But, when there's so many calls, and obviously we get to look at it a lot more than we ever used to, but when there's so many calls that happen right in front of a referee and it's just not called or not done, then that's when you just go, well, I don't know what's going on out there. What are they looking at?
Yeah, it's like I say, it's an impossible game to call perfectly. I always said there's at least 15 clearly missed calls a game. Generally, it's about 8 to 7. 9 to 6 for or against. Now, I always say back in, when the Kings, that game 6 against the Kings, there was about 20 calls, and they all went against.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't want an 18 to 2. You want a 10 to 10, right?
Yeah.
That's what we want.
And so that kind of perks up the old ears.
Yes.
But I always say, that's always the thing that I have a lot more respect for officials by doing TV. Than I did, and really as a coach, once you look at the tape, the game after the game's over, and you go back to it and you think, oh, That's a great call. Oh, I was making a fool of myself there. The guy got
Yeah,
it right.
yeah.
You know,
I saw last night. I don't know if you
almost wanna
saw.
call the guy and tell him.
Did you
"Sorry,
see the
dude."
Giants last night? Bumgarner was really upset about the home plate umpire, and then on replay you could see that no, that was a ball. And then
Yeah.
apparently they showed him home plate. He came back out for the start of an inning, and apparently he apologized to the home plate umpire. Like, yeah, I guess you're right. You went to
Of course, that's one of my
My
pet
bad.
peeves is the strike zone that you see on TV. It's right at the waist.
It's not our strike zone we
It
grew up
ain't-
with.
yeah, it ain't to
This used to be a strike. This hasn't been a strike in half
Oh
a century.
no!
you know?
My God, they'll call something
This
high.
area right here.
Yeah.
At the belly button, it's
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
How's that high?
We got to get
A little bit high, and it's right here.
you and I have to get him back in touch with his boyhood love of baseball.
Well, you're going to fail miserably. You can.
I don't know. You know, I think we should
He
say.
loved baseball.
Yeah. When did you fall out of love?
It's been a.
Now I'm sad.
Yeah, it's been a slow process,
Yeah.
really. You know, I think probably when I left Kansas City, you
Wow.
know,
Okay.
my son and I were big Royals fans, and they were good. You know, George Brett.
Yeah,
Oh,
Amos
wasn't he?
Otis,
Yeah.
And
Al
you know,
McRae,
yeah.
Brett Saberhagen.
I always
Sure.
remember George Brett and Jamie Quirk would come over and play pickup basketball at my college, Rockhurst University. And
Were they any good?
Oh yeah, Jamie Quirk probably could have played D1.
Really?
He was real good.
Wow.
And George was good, tough.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, he's a good. Probably could have played college level, small college level.
Huh.
But yeah. But
So
anyway,
that was it. You were the Royals fan, and that was your last fandom, huh?
pretty much. Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you know, I'll follow stars a little, but you know, Mike Trout. But then he doesn't play, so you know,
There you go.
he's hurt all
There's
the
that.
time.
That
so-
sounds basketball wise.
Yeah,
man.
no,
it's
same
not
thing.
even. It's not even load management. He just doesn't play. He gets hurt,
Yeah.
and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, no, I was one of those guys. I grew up loving it, but you know, I just really like basketball, golf. I love watching golf. Champions Tour, LPGA, PGA. I watch. I just really admire the heck out of
Yeah.
those guys. I mean, the pressure's on them individually, how well they handle it
Right.
in all cases, and so that's kind of it. I used to be a big NASCAR fan. Don't really watch that much anymore since they went to this stupid 2 stages stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, have your damn race.
Hey, just get in the car and drive, okay?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if we took you to a game, would you go with us? Or would you just go, no, I'm not interested?
Yeah, it
I mean,
depen-
we're your friends and everything.
That's right.
You are, and I enjoy your company a great deal. That might actually work against you.
At a baseball game.
So
We'd have so much time.
Yeah, we could hang out. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
you talk about Mickey
we'll,
Mantle and guys back in
yeah,
the day, the
yeah,
Royals
yeah.
of the '80s.
I'll give it some thought.
We'll have to go see the Royals play the A's. I
That's
think
right.
there may be seats available. Yeah,
the
so
Royals
we'll,
A's?
We'll see about it.
50
Yeah, we-
50,000 seats available.
Yeah,
There may be
We
good
could
seats
take-
available.
We could pick our own seat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably take it home with us, too.
Yeah. What time do you guys want the game to start? What time can you be here? We got to ask you, Jer. Awkward segue, obviously, about Coachy. And you know, it's one thing for Phantom and I to say we know about Coach Carril, and he was
Yeah.
part of the Kings when the Renaissance, but he really made a name for himself with what he did at Princeton. But you again, just as we talked about Bill Russell last week, you knew him. So what kind of guy really was Coachy?
Well, you hear the term, and I've said this quite a bit. You hear the term basketball genius used a lot. In most cases, it's really not true. In his case, it really was.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was absolutely. I don't think I've ever been around a person who, I mean, I wouldn't say that he saw things that others didn't, and he understood things about the game that most don't. And I'd say you take it to the logical conclusion is the career he had at Princeton as a head coach.
Right.
Mike Krzyzewski, Bobby Knight, Roy Williams, Dean Smith, John Cal, they could not have done better.
Because no scholarship players, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, they wouldn't have done as well. I'm pretty convinced of
Wow.
that. I mean, 11 NCAA tournaments, Princeton.
Yeah.
Princeton,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking
Nearly
about here.
beat Georgetown and did beat
Yeah,
UCLA,
the number
right?
one, yeah. No, I mean, really, no disrespect to those guys. I don't mean that. I mean, they're terrific coaches, but they couldn't have done better than Coach Carril did at Princeton, and nobody has before or after or will. And then his time with the Kings, I thought it was a perfect marriage of his intellect with Rick Adelman's, because his Princeton offense fit to a certain degree, but Rick was able to reconfigure it to make it work with the NBA. Shorter shot clock,
Right.
you know, went to a 2-man high instead of one, and all that sort of thing. And I mean, certainly, Coachy was really impactful there, and of course Rick Adelman, great coach, able to utilize players and stuff.
And that was a
coach's
Petrie
ability.
thing, right? Bringing
And-
Carril in the
Jeff,
first place.
Yeah, and Jeff Petrie,
Princeton guy,
obviously
yeah.
he had the strongest connection. I mean, he's almost a father figure to Jeff, and obviously Jeff was a great player for Coach Carril at Princeton, the best he ever had. And of course Jeff would say, you know, he said, I really respect Coach. We didn't really get along all that well at times at Princeton because I think that was the other thing with Coach. I always said, people would say, well, you know, Coach is such a nice, mild, gentlemanly guy. I said, well, he isn't when he's telling you something about basketball.
Yeah.
And Doug Christie would tell you that is with Coach, he knew what he's talking about, and he told you what he saw and what you should be seeing.
Yeah.
And what you should be doing about it.
Yeah.
And for the players at times they didn't want to hear it, but eventually, you know, they'd come around. I always said that was a interesting thing because people would always say, well, did he have any trouble connecting with the players? I said, no, because if players know you're telling them something that's right, if you know what you're talking about, they'll listen because it makes sense for them. Now, they may not want to hear it. You know, they may not want to hear it, but if you're giving them good information, they're on board. And, of course, I always think, too, that with me and Coach Carril, the closest relationship we had was on the road. We'd walk together all the time. And he had a real slow walk. I was telling somebody today that I got so near the end of time that when he was with the Kings, and I'd go out for an early morning walk so I could get a walk in.
And come back and take Coach
Come
out.
back,
Yeah.
and then me and Coach
Yeah.
would go out, you know, for an hour and walk a half mile, I think. But we had a nice little system, you know, and he was, you know, great storyteller, and I'd tell a few myself.
I bet you would.
And,
Yeah.
so a couple.
Yeah.
But we had a system, and so if you heard, like if Coach Carril's telling a story I've heard before, I'd hold up 2 fingers.
Oh,
and so
okay.
he'd just stop. Or if I'd told a story he'd heard before, he'd hold up 2 fingers, and so that was
So
our.
he had to stop and go
that
through,
was
yeah.
that was our strategy. And I'd always told him one time he said, "Well, Jerry said, I think didn't happen. I told you this story before." I said, "Yeah, but I didn't want to hold up 2 fingers. I wanted to hear it again." It was that good.
Yeah,
And so we ran in, and like I say, in his case, his stories were better than mine. So I didn't hold up 2 fingers near as often. But he was a big part of the success. And you know, the only thing I would say too at the end is, you know, 92 years old, and you talk about a man that lived a full life and every bit of it,
Right.
and got every bit of it that he could, and certainly one of the, you know, in my case, very simply, he was a special man, coach, and friend, and that's about all I need to say there.
The Princeton
partner,
offense,
yeah.
motion offense, a lot of backdoor stuff, right? I believe he said, and he probably said this to you one time, he didn't invent the backdoor cut, but nobody utilized it the way he did.
Yeah, I think he was, better, better at it and demanded it more than anybody. I know he'd always told me he got a lot of his ideas from Red Holtzman of the Knicks. You know, their passing game and spread floor and things, and but you know, he had to do it with lesser talented guys and this, that, and the other. But I think a lot of what he and Rick did with the Kings is carried over into the league. You know, the Warriors. I mean, what you used to see as you know, as old timers like we are, you know, center go plop down there on the low post, fill the basket. You didn't see hardly any back cuts, you know,
because he's in the way. Yeah,
he's in the way. And nowadays, I mean, with the Warriors or teams, you know, the center and so often is pulled high if you have one offensively to clear the basket. And I mean, certainly with Sabonis, you'll see that, and I think makes for a better game. I'm not opposed to low post play. I don't mean that, but just to go plop a guy down there. We'll put our big stiff down there, and you put your big stiff down
on us.
there.
Yeah.
And then
here we go.
Get the
here
stiff
we
More
go.
out of the way.
attrition.
Yeah.
But that's just the kind of thing where anything that gets the ball moving, And that's basketball to me. So that's what the Princeton offense was. It gets the ball moving.
And the players move, excuse me, but also the player. You have, like Sane always says, the Warrior offense: player movement, ball movement. When you have both, obviously, it's difficult to defend.
Yeah, because the guy, Peja was always the guy that was held up as like being the beneficiary of that the most because he kept moving. And we talked about the original guy, John Havlicek, a couple of weeks ago. Those are the guys that movement, but it doesn't matter if you're moving if nobody's moving the ball. Yeah. So it's great to see that, putting those two together.
Yeah, and you'll find guys moving less if they know they're not going to get the ball.
Or not
I
at all.
always thought with Peja, he knew that if Vlade had it, he'd get it if he's open. And so that's all part of it. But yeah, I think as you hit on it, even today's game, a lot of times you'll see good ball movement, but it's just to a spot to spot to spot.
Right.
There's nobody moving.
The defense just has to barely adjust.
Yeah, I'm throwing it to you, then you throw it to him, and the defense, okay.
Well, trying to get it to the guy to shoot the three-pointer, too. That's part of what takes it away is everybody's trying to spot up. So you go spot to spot to spot, and if we can get a half count so we can get a three-pointer off, hey, that's a good offense right there. That's the way we do it up,
But I think they're getting the player movement, and like I said, in today's game, obviously the Warriors are the class of the field, and so much of it goes back. I've always said, and I still believe, is to Steph Curry because he in college even he knew he had to move to get shots. He was always getting special treatment, even though he's small, thin guy at Davidson.
Oh, he looked like he was a junior high school
Well,
kid,
in his
right?
freshman year, he probably was 5'11", 130 pounds or something. But fortunately, he's growing up. But he, if your best player is going to move and work hard to get shots and clear areas for teammates, then it's a lot easier to do. And certainly Kerr deserves a lot of credit, but I do think it starts with Steph Curry. I really do, and I think with the Kings, I honestly do think Peja was a huge part of that because he knew he needed to be a mover. He wasn't a one-on-one per se. He could play a little.
How many threes would he shoot and make in today's game?
As many as he could get.
Because you had this story, and I forget the number, but you saw him in the practice facility one day.
Practice facility is my office. Look right out there to the basket. With the, I don't know what you call it, the boomerang thing that sends the ball.
Oh yeah,
back.
yeah.
The boomerang
the
thing,
CNET or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Anyway, he's out there shooting, and I just happened to, when he started, I just happened to start looking, and I was saying, swish, 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 swish. Pretty soon I started counting, and 42 straight.
Wow. Threes. Legitimate.
42 straight.
42 straight.
Short ones or?
Well, they were just right at the line. He
I
did.
got you.
Yeah. He was just
but not
shooting.
corner.
Well, he moved around.
Oh, wow.
From everywhere.
He did move
From
around.
all over.
Yeah.
Wow. But most of them were above the free throw line threes. Yeah, they're more there to kind of side to side. He did. I can't really recall if he did go in the corners much, but that's the way he was. He's one of those guys when you watched him warm up 4 games, if he shot 23, he's going to make 18. Bibby would kind of do that as well. And I always say that was my first clue on Ben McLemore. I was doing TV then, but I always like to go out and watch guys.
Yeah.
And Ben, boy, he looked good shooting, but he'd shoot 20 and make 7.
Not
and
good.
I said,
Good form. Real good form. Nice release.
Making 35% wide open threes.
Yeah.
And the technique looks good. When it went in, you say, ooh.
But you didn't say, ooh.
You didn't say, ooh,
often
near
enough.
enough.
Near often enough.
Near
Now,
enough.
your guy Larry could have shot a lot more too, right?
Oh, yeah.
He
Of course,
could
those
have.
days, that was the second part of the offense.
Yeah.
Of course, he was a kind of a career 40. He had several seasons of 50, 40, and 90. And that's what I say. That's the thing I like about the new kid Keegan Murray. 50-40 guy in summer league. Well, that's summer league, and so we don't want to get carried. But that's still something.
Yeah.
Right.
Still 50-40.
And 80s free throw. So that's shooting the ball. But yeah, Curry and the guys like Reggie Miller. Great. They've been great. They were great shooters.
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen before today's game.
Byron Scott. I know Michael Thompson was just talking about Byron Scott if he played today. ... What
Yeah,
was
he'd
it
have
about
done
him?
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more. And Byron is so underrated. Of course, Byron. I always said the reason they got him so he could guard point guards at Magic couldn't guard. which I'm not no disrespect Magic, but he couldn't guard the small, quicker guys. But Byron could.
Yeah. You replaced a pretty good player there, right, in Norm Nixon.
Yeah. Norm was really good, but he wasn't nearly as. I mean, he's probably offensively better than Byron, but defensively not nearly as good. And that's what they. But I mean, that's credit to the Lakers. They knew what they were doing. I mean,
It was Jerry, right?
huh?
Jerry West had a lot to do with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, the other thing about Larry is he's not going to shoot threes because he's got 2 Hall of Famers to dish it down to underneath.
Yeah.
You don't usually have that these days, that you don't have Parrish and McHale underneath the basket. So it was, like you said, second, third, maybe fourth idea. I'll go out and shoot a 3.
I think
just to shove it in your face.
A lot of his threes were taken to win games.
Yeah.
Late game stuff to break a team. So it's a different time. Like I say, we that at that period in the middle to late 80s, you just didn't shoot many threes.
Yeah, because you didn't come up shooting it. It only got legalized in '79.
Yeah, you had to encourage.
That group didn't come out shooting it.
Yeah, I always remember. I mean, you had to encourage guys like Eddie Johnson and Reggie and guys like that to develop their 3-point shot. They didn't have one.
Right.
And
Steph and Dame now make and take shots regularly that in the 80s guys would have been benched, right?
Yeah. Sure.
For taking them.
For taking them.
Yeah.
Well, you shoot
no
threes.
point, yeah.
Well, you shoot threes in transition now. If you're open in transition,
Right.
you shoot it. Well, that you never did that. I mean, so but that's part of the game. I mean, it's like
evolution.
hell.
Yeah.
I wasn't as old as I am. I don't remember when the jump shot came in, contrary to what you guys may think. But guys got benched for shooting a jump shot. You're not supposed to leave your feet to shoot a shot.
I said, well, it was Hank Lucetti came down the court, and I didn't put a hand up, and he just, I was on the bench in a second. Got to get out on Lucetti. Come on.
Phantom was there when they decided to cut the hole in the peach basket.
Yeah.
Some say it was even his idea.
No, it was not. The peach basket, I didn't think about the hole. So that was somebody. I was like an engineer or something.
Well,
I couldn't figure. I go, I'll get the ladder, and I'd get the ladder again.
Jerry, I think it was, and maybe you know this, I think it took them like 10 years. They had basketball with the peach baskets, and it wasn't until 10 years later someone said, we should cut a hole in the bottom of that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Probably
really,
a woman.
if you
had to have someone up there to get it out.
That was a good job. We had to keep that guy employed.
if you want to go back to the actual first rules of basketball, I mean, it's stupid. Well, I mean, Dr. Naismith is like, holy cow.
Well, he's Canadian, so I mean, he's not going to know everything, obviously.
15 on the side and.
Well, it was for gym class. He wanted to get everybody involved.
Right.
That's why he did it. Just he couldn't have people sitting over there smoking or whatever they do. He had to get them in the game.
Well,
hey,
no,
get in the game.
He was on the right track, but he got way more credit than he ought to for that stupid rules he put in there. And like you say,
So Naismith was stupid. That's today's. That's the
no, I
episode
didn't say
title
stupid.
today.
I think he had some stupid rules that he should have figured out a little quicker. Like say,
Well,
take
they're in progress.
Take the hole out of the freaking peach basket. Would be
It
one.
took him a decade. Don't blame
10
him.
years. Yeah. I guess, the shooting percentages weren't really that high
You
then.
make it and hit
Well,
the
I
bottom
would've-
and bounce out.
I would have said at the 2-year mark, then I'd give him a pass.
He did it within 2 years.
Within
yeah.
2 years.
All of a sudden, he's
but
a
when you
genius
hit a
again.
decade of saying, well, let's stop the game here. Let's get the
Yeah.
ball out of the basket.
Besides, if I'm Doc Naismith, that's not my purview.
Yeah.
I came up with this game, and how you get the ball out, that's on you
Yeah,
guys.
he's the original doctor. There you go, Doc Naismith, Dr. N. Yeah.
Some of the rules are still around. That I think a 5 seconds to get the ball in. There's a couple that are have existed, have survived from the original. But you're right. There's some
That's
of
a
them
long
that
time
we've
ago,
had
though.
to kind of modify to a
Yes.
degree.
Yeah, 15 on a side, sure. Maybe that was a little bit, optimistic at a time.
Yeah.
But we worked with that, and now we got it down.
I didn't even remember
Well,
that.
we're still modifying the game as we go. So
We're
I
just
mean, and
lucky there's a hole in the basket. That's all.
but
I'm saying.
they actually even put nets on there and the whole bit.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
So
I remember, I was a kid in the 40s or whatever, watching a game with him, with Phantom, and watching the Knicks. And I remember you saying, you probably don't remember this. I remember you saying some teams have nets that are different lengths because the shorter one, you get the ball out faster.
Yeah.
and they
You remember
wanna get
that?
going.
I mean,
Yeah,
I was like,
absolutely.
whoa, are you
yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah,
Now
the
everything's
long-
uniform.
Yeah, but they used to have
then,
ones that remember the long nets
yeah.
that would take an hour to get down through
Yeah.
there because that team they wanted
yeah,
to slow
they'd
you
have
down.
the long, the real long twine.
Yeah.
would take a while to get through. Then the nylon just swish through
Push
there.
right through and
Yeah.
then get the ball.
So
and
if
get
you
out
were
of there.
trying to play up tempo, you'd want the shorter
Yeah.
net, right? I mean, is that that's
Back in the day,
Yeah.
that's when they just had one game on Sunday afternoon. We used to watch, and it was always the Knicks, Bullets, or Sixers or Celtics because they didn't want to take the cameras out west and take the Lakers.
No. Well, of course, when I started watching, it was in the late 50s, and it was always the Celtics and Knicks.
'Cause
Basically.
that's where
Sure.
everything was based in New
Yeah,
York.
it's one. You know, that's who it was. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe occasionally they'd have once every 3 months they'd have a game with somebody else and the Celtics
Or
the
the
Knicks.
Knicks, right?
But but those two teams are going to be there, and of course they were both good teams. Of course, the Celtics were the great team at that time. But
Yeah, I remember we used to see the Baltimore Bullets once in a while with Gus Johnson and Jack Marin and everybody. Yeah,
Wes Unseld.
yeah,
and,
in the mid the
Pearl,
late 60s, yeah,
right?
Yeah, Earl the Pearl in those days, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, those were good teams, and I think but you had the one game a week, you know.
Yeah.
The NBA.
Oh, yeah,
game.
you
and
never
they'd
got
have
to
it
see
on,
basketball.
and they'd have it on early because they, But anyway, so
Because they had to get the baseball game on later, and baseball was the national pastime.
It was.
Which in your day it was, but now to you it's not anymore.
Baseball was the national game until the day when this man turned his back.
Yes, he did.
On
Yep.
baseball.
Yes, he
and
said.
that started
Yeah,
that.
my Royals, I'm gone. Nope, I'm out of here. Sorry, me and George Brett were leaving, and that's it.
yeah, when George don't play, I don't watch.
When George lost it on the bat when he got the home run disallowed.
Well,
He must have
Pine Tar
been
game?
Well, he was-
Pine,
yeah.
so you must have been mad.
Oh, I would have run out there with George. I mean,
That I would have loved to see.
Rules
I
are
might
rules, Jer. That
That's
pine
right.
tar extended
Oh,
too
he-
far up the barrel. I'm
Even,
sorry.
Even Doc Naismith knew that was against the
Well,
rules, and he made stupid rules.
And Billy Martin. I mean, if there was ever a guy that deserved punched, it was Billy Martin.
Okay, I'll go with you there.
But I mean, he was. Well, Billy's Billy. So
Yeah,
You
rest
gotta
in peace.
You just got to
Yeah.
rest in peace.
It's just
Yeah.
Billy, yeah.
Do you guys rank LeBron? I can't remember now why this is being talked about again. Some producer somewhere mentioned this. LeBron, where does he rank among the all-time great Lakers? Does he rank? And now it looks like maybe his time as a Laker is coming to an end at some point here. Maybe he's not going to resign. We'll see. But is he one of the great Lakers? When you talk, I don't think he quite can be, right?
I don't think he can be. Not if you're talk about a top 5, 6, or 7. I mean, because really, I mean, let's be legitimate. I mean, not that L.A. fans would think, but George Mikan is a Laker.
Okay,
He was the
sure.
most valuable player on 4 or 5 championship teams.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to go there.
You had one of his jerseys, didn't you?
Yeah, I had Jim Pollard, and I had a Bill Sharman too.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I wasn't a big man fan in those days. I liked the guards.
Yeah.
The set shots. I'd practice in the backyard all
Yeah,
the time.
wouldn't. But anyway, I mean, just in fairness, so you're talking about greatness. Well, greatness of that era, there was nobody greater than George Mikan.
Right.
And
But if you just go L.A. Lakers,
but then to me, Jabbar, Magic. Okay, that's 3 right there.
Kobe,
West,
Shaq.
Shaq, Baylor.
Elgin Baylor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to get.
No,
Elgin
I'm with
Baylor
you.
in there.
So
Well, when you talk about just Lakers,
and even you could make the case for Wilt. I don't think I would, because he's a little bit like LeBron. He's late.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they did. Well,
They did
they won
win a
one,
title.
and
They
so
won-
did
they
so did
won a-
LeBron.
So
but
did
yeah,
LeBron.
yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that these other guys I mentioned, and they didn't win a title with Elgin, but he was still an all-time great.
Yeah, that's- he's-
from both Minneapolis
Yeah.
and L.A.
And Wilt got them to the with Wilt, they got to the finals many years. They won the
Yes.
one, but he
Yeah.
got there many
Yeah.
times.
yeah.
yeah.
So you can make that case for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I mean, so.
Well, you can make the case for, like, I don't know if you mentioned Worthy or guys like that, or guys like a Michael Cooper or something that pulled down a couple of rings. Are they as great as LeBron as a player? No, but they spent the time with the Lakers and they got the results with the Lakers. So, I mean,
Yeah, you can make. I mean, to
There's
me,
a lot of guys
you
up there.
can make a lot of cases.
Yeah.
I think there's 6 or 7 that he's
you
simply.
don't need to make a case.
You don't
for,
need to
yeah.
make a case.
Yeah.
They're just simply ahead of him as
Yeah.
Lakers, and that's why their statues are out there.
Yeah, part of it is they had so many guys. Well, I can think of 3 off the top of my head, maybe 4, who were great players who only played for the Lakers, right? Like West, Magic, and Kobe, and Baylor, and they only played for the
Right,
Lakers.
that's it,
So,
yeah.
yeah. There's no way you can rank LeBron ahead of those guys.
Right.
No, that's what I'd say. I mean, and to me, I know a lot of people would say, well, that's being disrespectful to LeBron. I don't think it is.
No.
I mean, I think you're just stating the fact. I mean, that's an unusual franchise. I mean, it'd just be like saying if Jaylen Brown left the Celtics, now would he be an all-time Celtic?
Yeah.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
Jared. But I mean,
I mean,
these kids today, you never know, Jared. Yeah.
But you can't get there yet.
Yeah. Are you guys as tired of talking about KD and what he's going to do as I am? Where's he going to go? Is he...
I just wouldn't. If I'm making decisions, I'm not taking a chance on that guy. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Even if he comes to your team, how long is he going to stay in your team? I mean, it's just not worth it. And all the assets that you have to move to get him. I just think
doesn't some team have to at some point say, sorry, you can ask for a trade, but we don't have to trade you. We can't get back anything close to what
Not
you're
even
worth.
close.
So if you're going to play here. And if you're not, okay. But we are not just going to give you away because you're not a free agent. I mean, for the good of the league, I don't blame a player for saying, I want out. Okay, fine. But you know what? We don't have to trade you.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why we have free agency.
Yes.
And he's not a free agent.
Right.
And the Players Association, they fought for. That's what I say. I think the Players Association themselves are pretty gutless in this whole thing. It's like, okay, you battle for these things in the players.
Right. Yeah, they worked hard to get them.
And worked hard to get these advantages for players. Well, you got them, so honor them.
Honor the contract.
And tell your members to honor your damn contracts.
Right. Yes. Yes.
That's all. And if I'm Brooklyn, I'm with you guys. I mean, certainly Kevin has not helped his legacy at all here recently, but he is certainly still one of the very best players in the league. I think his status is, I don't see it as him as a top 5 guy anymore, due to age and injury preponderance concerns. But is he worth a lot? Sure. If you're a team, you could get him at what you want. You'd still do that.
Right.
But I mean, and I get from Brooklyn's point of view, it's like, well, we don't want to, if we're going to trade you, we got to get back what we want.
Yeah.
Now, they may be wanting too much, but that's their right since he's under
right.
contract.
I think the Gobert trade threw everything out of whack.
Yeah.
Because Utah got so much for him.
Yeah.
What is it, 4 number ones? So
4 or 5,
4 number ones and a pick swap, I think.
Yeah.
So then if you're the Nets, it's like, okay, well, we want a lot more than that for Durant, and they're just not going to get it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're Brooklyn, you're saying, we think Kevin Durant's better than Rudy Gobert. Now, guess what? So do I. So do you.
Everybody does.
So do the cardboard Jerry's.
His cardboard.
Yeah. So does
that
Coco.
I don't know about that one.
That one cardboard Jerry. I don't know. That's defensive Jerry over there.
There's some cardboard Jerry didn't know what they were doing. But I think the whole thing. I mean, if and then demanding they get rid of coach and GM, and
but I don't even think he wants that. He's just like,
I think it's a ploy.
Yeah,
this is what I got to do to really offend you enough to move me on. But if, I know what. If I were them, I'd say, nope, you're ours for 4 years.
Yeah. So then
now you don't have to play, but then we don't have to pay you.
That's the key.
Yeah.
We don't have to trade you, and we don't have to pay you.
And
so
then
there you go.
And when you're 38, you'll be a free agent.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I know when LeBron and Bosch joined up with Wade, and some people said, "Oh, that's not a way to build a team." Well, they're free to do that.
Right.
If that's player empowerment, whatever, you earn the right to be a free agent.
Yeah.
Fine. I'd never had a problem with that. A player, or Durant, when he left Oklahoma City, okay, fine. But in the middle of a contract, if players are allowed, and I don't blame the player for saying I want out. Well, too bad. But if players keep doing that and they keep acquiescing to, like Harden did in Houston, at some point that's going to be really bad, I think, for the league, Jared.
Oh, it is, and that's what I say. I mean, it's not just the league, the Player Association has got to step up here.
Yeah.
For once, it's like, I understand unions and the value, but if you continue to support people that are wrong, I mean, it's kind of like the old Bill Russell thing. There's some things that are right and some things that are wrong. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I say with any union, I mean, if you're going to support a pedophile teacher, in your union, well, don't be surprised if your union loses a lot of credibility.
Right.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Or if you're going to support a player that's has just signed a long-term contract and says he doesn't want to honor it, which is what he's saying, well, don't be surprised if the next collective bargaining agreement that probably somebody's going to maybe mention that we need to have some stronger things in our favor here. If we're going to give you all the things that you said you must have and you wanted and needed.
Look at Phantom, by the way, was showing the gun show.
Yeah, they
other,
got
other,
gun
other arm.
No, this is my good arm.
Oh, okay.
It just seems like in the past, those guys that have demanded a trade when they're not due, not being able to, somebody wanted them bad enough that they went ahead and kowtowed to that and made it happen.
Sure.
And gave it up. In this case, maybe Durant, it's a diminishing returns kind of thing as far as age, like Jerry was saying. And maybe this is the test case. Maybe this is the time where they go, no, it's just really not worth it for us to do this.
Right.
And maybe that'll stop that at least a little bit.
Yeah, but then he's going to, and I think it was Mark Stein with the report yesterday, that Durant, he's going to make it difficult on them because he came out with, all right, it's either the coach and the GM or me. And Josiah says, okay, fine, we support them.
Yeah, fine.
Now what?
Now what do you do?
Next?
Yeah.
And then apparently Durant, through back channels, lets it be known, and it's also shadowy, who knows, that he's going to make it really difficult on the Nets. Maybe he's not going to play, in which case, again, right, if you're the Nets, like, okay,
then I'm not going to pay you. Like Jerry said, then I'm not going to pay you. You have a contract.
Yeah. I mean, so it's one of those things that, and the truth is, all of a sudden, 1 week into camp, he joins again, and then they sing Kumbaya, have a group hug, and off they go.
All the
and
fines
none of
are
that would
rescinded.
surprise any of us.
Right.
It's the old.
I want him to play. I want to see him play.
Then they have to go get Kyrie to play. They got a lot of headaches over there. They got to figure them out one at a time.
They do. I mean, but it is still true, and that's why if I'm Josiah, I'd just say okay, because we know that if he comes back and all that stuff can be put to bed pretty quick, and everybody can. The memory will still be there, but you can move on because it's the game itself.
We get on the floor and we play.
And you got Joe Harris coming back, Kyrie, Simmons is supposedly healthy, and so that could be a championship contender. Could be, and of course. We'll see. Anyway,
we'll see.
Simmons kind of an X factor, huh? So Ben Simmons.
What
am I getting from Ben?
Yeah, but I'll say this for the guy, and I know he deserves a lot of the crap he's gotten. But if he's healthy and he plays like he did in Philly, he's in the perfect spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is in the perfect spot, and Brooklyn will benefit. I mean, because they'll be better off, should be better off with him than they were with Harden, really. If Kyrie plays 65, 70 games, and you got Harris back, you got another shooter. I mean, I like that. I do. I mean, the guy guards people. He can score without shooting. And people can say what they want, but that's exactly what Brooklyn needs. A guy.
He doesn't have to score. He can, but he doesn't have to.
Yeah,
he scored, but he just can't shoot.
Yeah,
but he can't shoot.
They got plenty of other
and they got the
shooters.
shooters.
They don't need. They don't need him to do that. But that's what's so frustrating is like they put together a team in Brooklyn. Well, on paper, I got these guys. This is the greatest team ever. And then they can't get them all together, and they can't get them all on the floor. So that's you're pulling your hair out in the front office, and that it's just so frustrating. And we all as fans kind of want to see them get together. I'd love to see Ben Simmons play. I'd love to see Kyrie and Kevin Durant on the same floor just playing basketball. As a basketball fan, that would be the ultimate.
Yeah, pardon me, and then not only is it a matter of getting them on the floor, but it seems to me that no matter who you are and how good you are, you've got to spend a lot of time together to be a team that can get through the rigors of the postseason, especially defensively. Right. And I thought the Clippers, the first year that they had Paul George and Kawhi, they were, a lot of load management, trying to make sure they were ready for the postseason. And I know we had the bubble and everything, so it was unusual circumstances. But push came to shove, they did not have the cohesiveness to get it done because they hadn't been on the floor enough.
Yeah, it's a team game. And, I mean, there is a talent, the number one thing, but you've got to come together, and sometimes it'll take a little while. But I'm kind of like with what Phantom said. I think we're going to see that. I mean, I think we're going to really. I'll be surprised if we don't see exactly now. It may not look as good as it should early on, but
especially in the beginning. Sure.
Yeah, I think we'll see that, and obviously the hard feelings. It's like, well, Steve Nash, and you think he hadn't heard enough crap already?
But he and Drain are close too, aren't they? Aren't they supposedly?
Well, that was kind of who they wanted to coach him. So
it doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. I sense too. It's one of the. As we all know that a lot of the media and people like ourselves feed off this, and maybe sometimes during the off season, there's nothing else, so it just kind of becomes.
Yeah, that's certainly
It
true.
just feeds.
Yeah.
You know,
But
kinda-
Durant seems to do that himself too. He fans the flames. I mean, you're right. People do feed on it and try to find things where maybe there aren't things. But Durant makes it awful easy.
Sure, seems to. I mean, he's
Yeah.
kind of done that. That's
Yeah.
kind of why, like I say, it's sad because I think, he would be viewed as one of the all-time greats, but I'm not sure that that's heading that direction now.
Yeah.
That I mean, he'll always be considered an elite player, but I mean, when you start naming top 10 guys, there a year or so ago, you would have put his name almost for sure in that
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
I don't think you would now.
Yeah, he needs a last act maybe
He
to
does.
get him up there. Maybe
He
another
does.
title, something like that.
Yeah, if he leads, Brooklyn to the finals or wins the
Gets
championship,
a league MVP, something like that.
then I think we'll kind of put it all behind. But I mean, you've seen players over the years probably hurt. Rick Barry comes to mind.
Sure.
I think a far greater player than he's given credit for
Yeah.
because some of his off court stuff and demands and different things. And I mean,
He was, and it's nothing to do with how he treated people, whatever. I talked to him a few times. He always treated me well, but he was ahead of his time. I talked to one of his sons about this once. I think it was Scooter. He was ahead of his time because he played out his contract and jumped leagues at a time when you didn't do that. And now everybody does that.
Yeah.
But he did that at a time. It was like, well, you can't do that. So for better or worse, I think in that sense he was ahead of his time.
Oh, I agree with you there. And, he kind of left because, it's a different league, but I get more money.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and he
My
was
father-in-law's
allowed
the
to do
coach, yeah.
that.
Yes.
And
yeah.
so, but it was viewed pretty much like guys trying to get out of contracts now.
Right.
So but you're right. And I think as a talent, I always said if it wasn't for Larry Bird, he'd be considered probably the most gifted small forward of all time.
Yeah.
Because of his passing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that he's a great scorer, of course.
He's a good shooter, though. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, his passing was, right there at the
You could
very
run an offense through him. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Here again, kind of ahead of his time.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, one of the first point forwards, I would think.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
agree.
They didn't call him that, but he was.
No, but he was, because he ran everything, and that one of the signature or singular teams to win a title back in '75 with that team. I mean, it wasn't full of superstars. You show somebody now the players on the team. You go, oh, okay, all right, that's great. You got these guys, but
that was a real surprise
Like
when
the
they won that,
Trailblazers in '77.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, you have a great star, but it's a team, and that's what made you
Yeah,
watch them.
that's a great analogy there with the Trailblazers. I mean, but that Warrior team, I always feel like, they had two special players, Barry and Wilkes.
Wilkes,
Yep.
right.
A rookie,
And-
right?
Yeah,
He-
rookie. And then of course Wilkes proved that later on. But they had two special guys and a bunch of guys that were good players.
Yeah, good.
And a
Phil
coach.
Smith coming into his own.
Yeah, and a coach that knew how to use a deep bench.
Yep.
And,
At a time when it wasn't
at
done,
a
yeah.
time when it wasn't
Right.
done much.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, Al was ahead of his time in that regard. And of course, but one thing that's always true, I think, is to win a championship, you have to have one of those special players.
Yeah, they certainly did. Yeah.
Yeah, on your team at that time, playing at its best. And of course, Rick was that guy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got to wrap things up here in just a moment. Thank you for being with us today. We're gonna thank you for watching by helping you win some money.
Okay.
NBA over/unders are out. Win projections, and I got to tell you guys, last year when these came out, I looked at it. I said, "Boom, Cavaliers the over." Boom. You know how much money I won?
Yeah.
I didn't win anything. I didn't
No,
actually
you didn't
bet
win
anything.
anything.
But I would have.
No,
I could have,
so-
Jerry. I could have won.
coulda,
a lot.
you
Way to
coulda.
sell
Yeah.
way to sell the segment, by the way. Nice
I
job.
could have won
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Yeah, I could have won.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
So, and I have the numbers here. Obviously, you guys, well, I assume you're not as familiar with them as I am, only because I'm looking at them. But I'll tell you a couple that jump out at me. The Kings 32.5.
Yeah.
I'm really tempted to go over there.
I am as
Pistons 27.5. I like a lot the over there, and Minnesota 48.5. Kind of like the under.
Yeah, that's.
What do you guys think of those?
I agree with all three of those you said. I mean, I would bet if I bet, which I don't.
Bet his money
I'd bet his money.
or Stone's money, maybe.
Stones.
maybe.
Yeah, he'd give me a lot of money.
He
but-
would. He'd drop a couple
Yeah,
bucks on.
but I really think the Kings are. Of course, I thought that last year, and they were actually right.
Funny how that happens.
But
sometimes.
I say on the King's Herald thing, I do. It's like,
Yeah?
let me
Nice
explain.
shirt, by the way.
You think you get a little promotion,
Yeah.
but
Beautiful.
I'm a homer and a fan,
Mhm.
and so don't expect me to be have good judgment in these regards.
Right.
Like I used to be a fan of the Kansas City Royals. Okay.
You still are deep down, Garrett. We're going to get you out to a Royals game.
But anyway.
So you were a fan of the Kansas City Kings then at some point?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, I was because they helped me get the job at
Yeah.
the college I was at because they practiced there. And then
So like Sam Lacey and them?
Yeah, and
Okay.
Phil Johnson,
Scott
coach.
Wedman.
Later,
Yeah.
Scotty Wedman.
Yeah.
They'd come practice, and so Nate Archibald, the whole bit. So
There you
I
go.
became a fan, and I worked for him.
Jalen Rose's dad, right? Was on that team?
Yeah,
wasn't
Jimmy
he?
Walker.
Jimmy
Yeah,
Walker.
good
That's
player.
a hell of a backcourt. Nate Archibald
Yeah.
and Jimmy Walker. I'm telling you.
Out of Providence, I think. Yeah, Jimmy Walker. I love Jimmy
he was
Walker.
the number one guy. And
Yeah, he was fantastic.
that guy he played with, Nate Archibald, with the 52nd pick, he was pretty good
Yeah,
too.
he was decent for a 52nd pick. That's
I think
that's
that's
good
what he
scouting
was.
right there. Yeah.
I know he's second round. I don't know if that low, but he was a second round pick. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Maybe they missed on
But
him a
anyway,
little bit.
the Kings. I think they'll do
32.5 is the number
Yeah,
on
I
them.
think
I'd
they're
go
going to do
over.
at least 38. I think the
Pistons are
Pistons,
27.5.
They'll do 32, and Minnesota will
Minnesota's
do
48.5.
they'll do 45.
45. Yeah.
All
What
right.
about the Pelicans?
Good question. The Pels, Joel Myers, the Pels are 44.5.
I thought I saw today they were opening with Brooklyn. That was their first game, which will be an interesting matchup right there if they get everybody on the floor. I think that's a little high, maybe.
These, by the way, I think
Yeah.
are the Caesars numbers, and you know your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
If there's bargains to be had at the bottom, Spurs 24.5, Rockets 24.5, Pacers 24.5, Thunder 26.5. I kind of like that, but Magic 26.5. Then it goes Pistons, Kings. And at the top end, it's the Celtics 54.5, Suns 53.5, Bucks 52.5, Warriors 52.5, Clippers 51.5, Sixers 50.5, Grizzlies 50.5. Anything jump out there? Who knows?
If I'm going down the bottom, I'm going to go with the Pacers. I'm going to grab the Pacers.
Really?
I think,
24.5 going
Yeah,
over?
I'm a big fan, yeah. Obviously Halliburton, but they got Matherin in the draft, and I know it's a rookie, so you don't know how much difference it's going to make. But I like him, and I think I'm gonna be in the Pacers camp. 24.5. That's 24 and 58. I think I'll go there.
So how much more?
I think I'll go 28, 29. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, well, if you're under 30, you're not a very good team. So
No.
obviously you could go way under 30. I don't see them too much over 30. I mean, they're still young and everything, but
I don't know
they're
that
an
there's
easy
a-
team to root for too, as far as
Yeah.
with Halliburton.
I was going to say, and
I
also
need-
you
I
got
need that.
Yeah, who's the player? Wembanyama's coming out next
Yeah.
year. There are some teams that I don't know.
Even
Jared, if they're
now
gonna
are tanking,
be putting
yeah.
their best foot forward. And I'm
Yes.
not sure the Pacers are the players. I know play hard, but I don't know if the organization really wants
Yeah,
to
there's
win that many this year.
about 5 teams going to try to get that number one spot to
Yeah.
get that particular player.
Yeah.
And is he the second coming? We don't know, and they don't know. But
Yeah.
they're not going to try hard to win.
Right.
You
Right.
kind of know that.
Don't
Yeah.
the bottom 3 have the same? Isn't that the way it works now? The bottom 3 have the same chance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's like
it's not really a sure thing if you come in last.
I'd
yeah.
kind of want to be more. If you're convinced that he's the guy, I'd kind of like to. If I were them, to have a little better feel of who might be the second or third guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that worth ruining a season for?
Exactly. If I don't get the guy, number 2 and number 3, what am I getting out of there? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and even no disrespect, because I don't know anything about the young player except that everybody thinks he's got the chance to
Right.
be.
He's a
be
center, right? Victor
yeah,
Wembanyama.
six-
Yeah.
7'3", I
7'3",
think.
yeah.
But I think
he's got handles.
But I know he in his last year he averaged 7.5 points. So
So there you go. He's a scorer. Yeah.
so
Well, over there.
But I mean, Antetokounmpo, I mean, you could make the same kind of case for him. There was nothing to indicate all-time greatness for him.
Was Petrie really
But then
trying to
he
tell the
grew.
incoming Kings administration that you should draft this guy?
Yes, I know he told him for a fact that that's a guy he really was intrigued by and thought that they really should consider bringing him in and studying him.
I think he was right.
I believe he was.
was he 6'8" then though? I mean, he wasn't. He
wasn't-
grew a bit, so
yeah.
he helped himself out there a little bit.
No, I mean, and Jeff be the first to tell you. I mean, he didn't think he's going to be the maybe most valuable player in the world.
Yeah, the best player in the world. Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
he was intrigued by all the things, you kind of would, or when you first saw him as a rookie, that boy, what an athlete! He really,
Yeah.
really tries hard now, and it's like, boy, if he could learn to shoot a little bit, or if he could learn to just handling under control, and of course all that. By the second year, you're thinking, holy crap!
Yeah.
How'd we miss on this guy? Yeah.
yeah, he's better than Ben McLemore.
Yeah.
He really is.
Well, Ben hit. Wait a minute. Ben hit 7 out of 20 now.
yeah.
So you're 35.
Well,
he
yeah,
was a-
actually, Detacupo couldn't have done that as a rookie.
No, he could not have.
No. And Ben was a pizza guy.
Oh, he was.
I'm a pizza guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only been
The
one
long
pizza.
legacy.
No, there's
It's
only
only
one
Isaiah
pizza guy.
Thomas?
Only
Isaiah
Isaiah,
Thomas.
yeah.
No.
Because he looked like he was the pizza guy.
He
when
was
came
the
around.
pizza guy.
Hey, there's the
No.
pizza guy. Yeah.
That's your guy, huh?
Oh, I love the guy. I mean,
He's still around,
Well,
too.
when you really think about it, and this, you could make the case that Isaiah Thomas probably had, of any Kings player in history, Sacramento Kings, he wasn't a King at the time, had the best single season of any player ever. He was third in for MVP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Averaged 29 points a game.
Yeah.
6.5 assists for a 50-plus win team that went to Eastern Conference Finals. And he was the main
guy. He was the
now, there's no.
catalyst.
I mean, honestly, I don't think you can. I mean, Weber never had a year that good.
So you're saying of anybody who ever played for the Sacramento Kings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had the
Sac-
best,
okay,
the best
Sacramento,
individual season. It just wasn't for the Kings.
Yeah. And then your boy
Stauskas.
Danny said, "See you later," right? But
yeah. Well, he's hurt,
Yeah,
and I mean, and Danny, I think it's kind of wrong, but I get it. It's a business,
Yeah.
and you're able to trade a kind of a damaged goods for Kyrie Irving. Of course, you kind of got what you deserved on that deal.
Didn't work
Yeah.
out anywhere for anybody. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for being
There
with
you
us.
go.
Subscribe. You guys want to try it again next week?
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Hey, does it say that? Subscribe? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Coco. MVP
Thanks,
today, Coco.
Yeah, well, not now.
Well,
Kind of
all
like
right.
having a Kevin Durant end of her career right here.
Remember, subscribe. Free. It's free. You can't beat free. You know how I love free.
Yeah.
Free.
Coco.
Coco.
Thanks for watching the Old Fashioned 3.
Thank you for joining the Old Fashioned 3 on Stones Radio Networks. To stay updated on the show, like and subscribe on YouTube, and all shows are available for download on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and of course at stonesradionetworks.com. Follow the show and the gents on Twitter at OL, Fashioned, and the number 3, at Phantom Radio 60, and at Whitey Gleason. This has been a production of